Okay, I'm going to fold, pin, and sew the large half circle piece today. So this is template C, which is our half circle, and template D is our background piece. So to prepare these to sew, I fold them in half and I crease, and I fold them again and I crease. And I do the same thing with this piece. You match up your straight sides, finger press in the middle, finger press. And when you open it up, you have your pin marks, and they should line up with your half circle. So then you put them right sides together. When you're pinning, the most important part is to get this short straight side lined up with the straight side of the half circle. And you want to keep that lined up the entire time you're sewing around the curve and as you sew off the curve. So I put my pin sideways like that to keep it secure. And then you can choose to pin this one or not, but as you start on your sewing machine, you're going to also want to make sure that it is lined up. So this short straight side and the straight side of the half circle are lined up as you start to sew. That, if you keep it that way, that means that your curve is going to be more accurate. When you press your seam, it's going to line up straight side to straight side so that you're not losing part of your curve. That way you don't have to trim off any of this half circle before you go to piece your blocks. So you can pin this first edge if you'd like or not. I usually don't because the pin gets in the way when I start my curve, but make sure that they're both lined up, straight sides together. And then I usually take a few stitches before I stop and just align my fabric. At this point you can tug on it just gently and it should fall in place. This is a nice big curve, so it's not, so you have lots of room for your fabric. And if you've chosen to pin, this is just a good time to stop and make sure your fabric's lined up for the next section. At the top of the curve is where you're going to see the most likely bunching. It's important to remember that the only bunching you're concerned about is what happens right at your needle. If it's bunched over here on the side, that's not a big deal. But a trick to get rid of some of that bulk is to lift your foot while leaving your needle down and just move it a little bit behind it. And you may have to do that a couple times at the top of the curve. You can see I have another one here. And then again, just lining up my fabric. And then as you come around the curve and come to the end of the curve, you want to make sure that these two fabrics stay lined up, that short straight side to the straight side of the half circle. Again, so you can move fabric behind behind the foot, behind the needle. You can leave that pin into the last possible second. You can see that it's still lined up.